Good morning, Kattilahalli. How are you today? Good. I am the only thing standing between you and lunch, so let's make this energetic. Hopefully by the end of the presentation, you're going to be hungry, yes, but also hungry not for food, but for questions. And spoiler alert, I come here to ask you one question. Maybe the slide is giving you a hint, but how much is your marketing worth? I really love the talks in the morning, very different angles to the one I take here. I love to talk about fluff. I loved how the Martech landscape is shaping, and that should lead us to ask us that same question. How much is marketing worth and why? So, in short about me, my name is Jaime López. I work for Wärtsilä. I lead their marketing operations there. It's a fantastic job. I have a glorious team. I couldn't be more thankful to them. They are behind all these results. My colleagues say that I'm a recovering engineer. I cut my teeth designing power plants in Madrid and Lappeenranta. Then somehow I ended up in marketing. And I love that. I really like how moving from one world to a very different one allows us to think very much out of the box very differently. My focus has been to chase B2B mega deals since 2014. I landed in a very lucky place where in Wärtsilä, our deals are really big. And that means that every percentage point of a conversion rate that you raise results in massive wins or losses. We've gotten a couple of awards for our work, of my team's work. And as Emma said, this is actually not my first time in Kattilahalli. We've been playing here before. I play in a salsa band, very stereotypical for a Spanish guy. A little bit about Wärtsilä. Who doesn't know Wärtsilä? OK, some hands. Great. It's a terrible name for if you want to be an international company. Nobody can pronounce it around the world. But we're 185 years old, and we are about 19,000 people. We sell to the tune of 5 billion a year. What do we do? On the right, things that float. On the left, things that don't float. Basically, if you want to separate our business lines into, those are maritime sector, so cruise, ferry, basically everything that goes in a ship. Especially the engines. And those same engines can also be used for power generation, so power plants. And how much of this do we do? Well, when you order stuff by Amazon, there's roughly a 33% chance that the vessel that brings that from Shenzhen or somewhere has one of our engines there. And there's a 50% chance that we are servicing that vessel of those massive container or ferry or any kind of carriers or cruise, if you take a cruise around the Caribbean or the fjords. And we produce about 1% of the energy worldwide. So some people use the very used cliche that we are one of the largest companies that you have never heard about or never known. Well, anyways, 1% of the global power, 50% of the vessels around there are serviced by us. And we've been on a remarkable transformation lately, marketing-wise. I started in 2013. I joined fresh out of university, and one of the colleagues left. So I was basically handed the keys to an empty Marketo instance. So like, hey, do you want to take care of this? What can you do with this? We've just bought this. It was really expensive. The person who bought this has left. Please do something with it. So we started by being 3 users and, well, trying to get something out of the machine. During that year and the year after, we started a partnership with one of the companies that are here today, Avaus. And that partnership gave us, let's say, the necessary boost to start in our journey. We're no longer just 3 users. We're not just doing the onboarding, but we were looking ahead and away into what can we do with this machine. So the crawling phase, let's say, was a bit over. In 2015, we found one massive project called Project Fox. I will talk about it in the next slide. And we started doing account-based stuff. It was very minimal at the beginning, but it was a solid foundation to get the results that we got. Project Fox, because of an astute approach marketing-wise, but especially because of the work of sales, showed measurable results to the tune of 550 million euro in sales that I could actually put a finger on and say, we had our part in this. And that gave us the cred with our sales and our management to actually take that tiny proof of concept and scale it to a company that sells 5 billion a year. So the machine, the sales and marketing machine that we operate now, it is pretty damn big. It's one of the largest part instances in Europe. And it moves a few hundred million euros a year, in a sense. With great power comes great responsibility. So We transitioned to Pardot, as I said, one of the largest Pardot instances in Europe. And in 2017, the company said, like, OK, we've seen what we needed to see to actually give you, to quote Carlos, the keys to the Ferrari. We now trust you to be the driver of this. We moved to digital first, and not digital only, but digital first marketing. We hired people with the right skill set, which did not exist before. And that takes us to the point where we started to ask, like, OK, the results are good. Was this fluke, or do we have a measurable impact in our sales? Going and diving into our statistics and our numeracy, we developed an attribution model and a return of investment model that tells us, say, scientifically to some degree, how much impact our marketing has. To the point that this year, my targets and my team's targets are set on an ROI level. We will get our bonuses if we can show a marketing return of investment of 2.0. And let's say revenue-wise, that's easy. And that would be, let's say, justifying the fact that the function exists. But I want to go a little bit further. No, 2.0 means that for every euro they give us in marketing budget, we need to bring back 2 euros in profit, which for a manufacturing company, it is quite demanding. But it's great. I have everybody in my team pushing towards a 2.0. I think we're going to make it this year. And it is a very fulfilling feeling to say that I can now show every euro I get in, I get to our owners, we're a publicly listed company, 2 euros in profit. So a little bit about Project Fox, a little bit of storytelling. How did we hack sales to win new power deals in Texas? So I'm a data person. We tend to look at data kind of during breakfast randomly. Every now and then you find something interesting. One of those finds was that one of our customers, a plant in Kansas, suddenly was making 5 times more money than we had forecasted them to do. It's like, OK, wait a minute, what's happening in Kansas? The market regulation had changed. And suddenly, one thing that our engines do extremely well, which is starting and stopping quickly, had become very valuable monetarily in the market. And it's like, OK, great. They're integrating renewables. They need this flexibility. We're basically the best in the market at that. But nobody knows about us. And as I said, nobody can even pronounce the name of the company. We have 4 guys doing sales in the US. How on earth do we reach these 170 potential customers who have been always buying from our competitors, don't even know we exist? Let's bring marketing automation to the picture. Let's systematize this. Let's tell our salespeople who should they talk to, when should they talk to them, about what have they read, what have they not read, what seems to be the best product fit, what's the suggested next activity to take with these customers. And developing that, we got to a place where accounts that had been very resisting to new technology like ours suddenly were signing projects with us. And we've been normally selling about 1 power plant project in the US per year. Up to that point, now we sell between 6 and 8 a year. And you can imagine a power plant costs between 50 to 100 million euros. So directly attributable sales results to our marketing automation, let's say, hacking project, those 550 million. Blessing and a curse, by the way. When you have a success case, your people will be headhunted from other companies. So what might happen is that you have to put your team back together again. But how did this work? Well, first of all, we identified the accounts with a targeted IP-based account-based marketing. So develop value propositions for each of these accounts, quantify the value in the proposition for each of them. So based on their IP, we can show ads in their media of choice, per seniority, per location, that quantifies exactly how much more money they're going to be making with our solution versus our competitor. Kind of mass personalization. We had those 170 accounts, for each of which had a different, let's say, value quantification. Then when they engage with this, you need content. I'm never get tired of saying this. Tech is great, I love data, but you need contacts and content. Those are the 2 fuels that move the machine. And the content for us came in a very unexpected way. So you can imagine the power sector is very conservative overall. So we decided that, OK, we don't know enough about this. We don't know what resonates with this audience. We couldn't be farther away from them. Let's test everything. Let's produce content at scale and let the Hunger Games begin. And surprisingly, the things that tend to work better were things like this, something that looks like a UFC or a pressing catch. Poster works super well. And then the whole feeling set in that, OK, we need to produce content at scale. What I think is best, not necessarily best. Don't trust my opinion. Trust the data and kill what doesn't work. It's a bit of content Darwinism. Automated nurturing, that's not new for any of us in 2019. It was a bit of a new thing in 2014, 2015. But personalized content, email-based, retargeting worked very well. Scoring and grading was, let's say, the trigger that we used to infer product suitability and infer timing for contacting these accounts. And then basically enabling our sales, giving them access and transparency to what the customers are doing, and why should you contact them, what should you talk about, what have they not seen, which was in many cases the deal maker. That we know that they've read the financial case, they've read this reference, but they don't know that there's a plant just like that one in the neighboring state. Take them for a visit. And that works super well. And obviously, this works once through. Open loop works fine, but if you want to be more efficient, you need to feed the data back into the machine, feed the data back into the model, let it learn from itself, and tell you which of these things actually work well. So to put my mouth where my money where my mouth is, this was our funnel last year, so that we have nothing to hide. These are real numbers. Through our machine run around 1/10 of the revenue of the company, which is quite an accomplishment, thinking that we were making brochures 4 years ago and focusing on which fairs are we going to go to. So that's also something I want to underline. Be transparent. If you're doing your job well, you have nothing to hide. And we know now, and I can now show, let's say, our dirty laundry to all of you so that you can ask me the tough questions. What should we improve? So that my CEO, instead of asking me how much money you need for marketing, comes and asks me, like, why has your conversion from sales qualified leads to won deals dropped by 15% this year? What do we need to do with sales? Why has never asked me this question before? And that's a very powerful conversation to have with the CEO. So now I want to talk to you about 5 mistakes that we've made that I hope you don't have to make. So we get this out of the way. You learn from my mistakes, hopefully, and you're on your way to excellent marketing. First, you don't need to grow linearly. If you use a very kind of easy to grasp metric, number of emails that we send, or number of users that we had running marketing automations, we started very small, and on a B2C level, this would be small, but on a B2B level, this is actually quite high. Don't grow linearly. You don't need to. You will need expertise and competence that you're not even aware of that you need right now. So there are plenty of partners up there that you can team up with at the beginning and have your team learn from them. You can, let's say, pay for the superheroes at the beginning until your team become the superheroes or the Avengers. The second thing, very important for us, don't get enamored with your content, with your campaigns. As I said in the title of my talk, don't trust me. My opinion here is irrelevant. I don't want my team members to come and ask me, what do you think of this copy? I don't care. Test it. Test it, test it, test it, and the numbers will tell you the answer. For example, when you said that here that we send about 1.2 million emails a year, I sometimes get the question like, hey, but you're spamming people. My salespeople ask, like, why do you send this many emails? I'm sure that people just delete them. No, they don't, because we've tested them and because we know what works. I took a benchmark the other day from GetResponse. They analyzed 4 billion emails last year. This was overall average about all verticals for open rates. I didn't take the manufacturing ones because they were lower. This is a bigger challenge. But our numbers are better. And this is only because everything we send out is tested thoroughly. Everything. It's the only way to, let's say, continuous uptrend in performance. So when people ask you the question, why are you spamming people? Aren't these customers just deleting the emails? No, they're not. I don't care about my impression of my marketing. The data will tell you the answer. Third one, who recognizes this? OK, this was the first display ad that was ever, say, shown on a page in 1994. Look at that click-through rate. Does anybody have any asset today that performs at that click-through rate? I've never seen anything. Why do I show you this? Well, so that we can realize that what was great and performed amazingly in 1994 now doesn't. So we need to keep our weapon sharp. As Monica said, your customers are already expecting what you don't have, and they're looking to the next innovation. So you need to keep your weapon sharp. Yes, you need to have the basics in order. This is the bread and butter. This would got us like the results. But look forward. There are things that we are not aware of that are going to be expected by our customers yesterday. So my suggestion, keep a portion of your budget allocated just for testing new things, just for trying. Allow your people to take half day a week and just experiment. Burn that however many thousands or tens of thousands of euros you give them a year just in testing and finding what's the frontier. What should we be doing that we're not doing yet? Third thing, competence diversity. Couldn't agree more with Carlos. One thing we see very strongly in B2B is that people are the long piece in Tetris competence-wise that everybody is awaiting. And that tends to be concentrated on comms. We hire people for marketing who have very strong comms expertise, which unfortunately I don't have. So of course, that competence is needed. It's what you get if you've gone to business school or studied communications. But there are two other pillars that are equally important, and that, in my opinion, academic institutions don't necessarily prepare people on just yet. They're catching on. I see in Sweden people come out of school knowing a ton of marketing automation. I wish we had had that luxury back then. But you need people who are really good with the tools, being marketing automation, CRM, display, programmatic buying, all these things. And also that have substance matter expertise about your company. One can be an excellent consultant having amazing comms expertise, amazing tool expertise, but if you want to create that content that performs and that you're able to test and create it at scale, you need to understand the substance matter. I tell the new hires in my team that I don't care if you don't know what the scrubber is here when you join us on the first day, but after a year, you still don't know what a scrubber is or how it works, then I'm going to be worried. So 1 week a year, we force everybody in my team to go and shadow a salesperson, go meet a customer, go learn so that you can hold your weight in front of a customer, go negotiate a deal, read a tender, reply to it, write amendments to a contract. So when the customer is not in front of you, it's your systems, it's your tools who are interacting with that customer, and you need to be able to hold your weight. And almost the last of the things, has anybody watched these series of videos? Who likes cooking? Yes, a few hands. Cool, more than the banner ad from '94. This is a really cool series of videos. Going back to what kind of content do we consume in Finland? I don't know. This is what I consume. They take one classic dish, like here it's spaghetti and meatballs, and they take 4 different people to cook the dish in front of a camera and explain their thought process. They get an amateur on the left, the person who doesn't cook often. Then they get a home chef, people like me who think that we are really good in the kitchen, but probably we're not. Then they get the professional chef, and then the one that's not in the picture, they take a food scientist. And it's amazing to see the difference and the difference in the thought process about how and why they do things in that order, in that amount, what role the ingredients play, the textures. It's really amazing. So, thought experiment. If you would have a Michelin star restaurant, let's say revenue of a couple million euros a year, who would you hire to be your chef? Amateur, home cook, professional cook, or food scientist? Probably the third guy or the scientist probably want to have it in the payroll also if you're going for a Michelin experience. Why then, when we hire people for marketing, we hire people with amateur level or home cook level, which is not a problem, but we don't train them to become the professional ones. We don't train them in the tool expertise and the substance matter expertise, and the universities haven't trained them either. So key to success in any high-performing marketing team, if you want to get those 550 million, doesn't matter who do you start with, but in a certain amount of time, you need to have the superstars. And in my machine, I don't have a revenue of 2 million to take care of. I have a revenue of 5 billion to take care of. So the amateur or the home cook are not going to cut it for too long. And people think that this is rocket science to learn it, that you need a degree in nuclear physics. You don't. It's not. It's just a matter of will to learn and having resources available to you to learn. I had a couple of guys who joined my team as trainees in 2015. They barely spoke English. They were studying IT in a vocational institute. 1 year later, they left our company. They started their marketing automation consultancy in Vaasa, in Finland. They're still running. So in 1 year, you can become really good at this if you try. So what's my point with all of this? If you want top results, you need to hire top people, of course, but give them top training. And like the food scientist here, bring the lab coat on. Look at your marketing with a scientific looking glass, which tells you why things work the way they work, how well things work, what is not working and you should cut, and how much you should cut it by. So I'm going to spend the last 10 minutes telling you how do we take that scientific approach. We bring those lab coats and we use them to enable sales, which in the end, my ultimate responsibility is to make sure that my sales sell more, sell faster, sell at better margin. And for me, that's condensed in 3 things. We need to identify some things, understand how things work. That's what they have scientists for. And last but not least, generate actionable insights for the sales. What are those? Well, first of all, we need to identify, again, when we have breakfast and next to a cup of coffee, we look at some data. For example, one quite useful insight we got recently. Finally, we have proof of correlation and causation that accounts with higher marketing engagement close much better than those that have no engagement. Intuitively, all of us would think so. Of course, if a person consumes your content, they're going to buy more. OK, now we have the data. Now we have the equation to prove it. And by how much? Which is something that justifies the existence of my function, justifies my budget, and justifies the other 2 things. OK, how much does marketing matter? Now we know through the attribution model that the average contribution percentage on any deal we close, remember, like average deal size about 50 million euros, is about 3.6%. So when they ask me how much is my marketing worth, I can confidently go and say that it's 168 million euros for Wärtsilä. If you would amputate all marketing from Wärtsilä, we would leave 168 million euros on the table on an average year. For any deal, especially for those smaller ones, the marketing part of the deal, or how much we have done for the average deal, is about 42 grand, which is nice. And one interesting take from this was also the other day, one of the people in my team called me to tell me, like, we've noticed this is not linear. The first touch points matter so much more than the transition from the 99th touch point to the 100th touch point. There is a certain saturation effect. So if we want to maximize results, we focus on accounts that have 0 or very little engagement now, rather than the easy, low-hanging fruits of the accounts that have already engaged with us, and we know they're going to open the emails and get very nice open rates and so on. And the final thing is to, not the final thing, but understand also which variables contribute. So what is it that actually matters when we're looking at purchase propensity and average deal size? Which of these things make people buy? This is a Shapley value analysis that if you've heard about attribution, it's the hot shit now is to look at it through a game theory lens and model different channels or different touchpoints as players in a cooperative game. So how much does the game, or is the game outcome affected if you remove one player or these 2 players cooperate, or in which order? So now we know, for example, that the impact is bigger for accounts that buy more different types of things from us than those that buy only one type of thing, for accounts that accumulate a very high score from visits than those that don't, accounts that consume video, their score in part that is significant, but more significant the more engagement we have with them. So it's very handy to now know if we're playing blackjack or roulette, in which numbers do we put our bets? And how big should those bets be? This is the lab code approach. And last but not least, to get those actionable insights. Of course, this we can discuss within my team. This I can tell you how much each of the channels cooperates in the game for us. But I cannot tell my salespeople like, yeah, this is the Shapley values for customer visits, so you should do more customer visits. I have to explain them why and what to do. And that's something that we looked at it recently. For example, if we take an account that has the lowest engagement class for us, has the lowest amount of interaction, and we manage to move them to the highest class of interaction, we can expect through the account lifetime that their closing rate will increase 2.35%. When the deal sizes are tens of millions, that is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So I can go and tell my salespeople that I need you to get this account more engaged, and we are going to focus on getting this account more engaged, because then you're going to meet your sales targets quicker, easier, and at a higher margin. So to wrap up, the 5 things I want you to take home from this, the 5 mistakes we've made, and I hope you don't make. First, no need to grow linearly. Hack your way to exponential growth. Get hired help if you need it. Otherwise, set your limit very high and try to grow exponentially. Second, don't get enamored with your content, with your campaigns. Look at it from a wider perspective. You need to kill your darlings. You need to produce 3 to 5 times more content than you're actually going to use, and kill what doesn't perform. Third, bread and butter, fine, but to keep up with the hygiene level, to keep up with that enormous customer expectation, you need to be constantly experimenting. We run 10 to 15 experiments at any given time. Like, will this tool be part of our stack? Should it be? What value, marginal value would it add? Keep your weapon sharp. Fourth, competent diversity. Find the T-shaped profiles. Find people who are really good at one of the 3 things, either comms, tool, or substance matter knowledge, and who can hold their weight at the other 2. And train them, help them get better. And fifth, bring on the lab code. Be the food scientist. Question everything, and make sure that you keep powering this revolution. Thank you very much.